Friends and viewer, Victor Frankl, the famous psychologist, had written this non-fiction book. The name of this book is Man's Search for Meaning by Victor Frankl. Man's Search for Meaning is a work of non-fiction that deals with Victor Frankl experience living in Nazi concentration camps, as well as his psychotherapeutic technique called logotherapy. Frankl never gives the reader a linear narrative of his time in the camps. Instead, he is more focused on explaining how the daily struggles of camp life affected the mental state of its inmates. As a result, he only gives detail about his experience when those details can be used as evidence for his psychological theories. Frankl says that based on his observation of his fellow inmates, the typical prisoner passes through the three mental stages: shock in the first few days after his arrival, apathy, and emotional depth. Once he has become accustomed to life in camp, and disillusionment with life after he has been liberated. Most of the first section of the book, Experiences in a Concentration Camp, explores what happened to apathetic prisoners and how Frankl managed to avoid this apathy. The core of Frankl's philosophy is that man's deepest desire is to find meaning in his life, and if he can find that meaning, he can survive anything. Frankl found meaning in his experiences in the concentration camp by deciding that he was going to use his suffering as an opportunity to make himself a better person. Instead of becoming apathetic and accepting that he was doomed, he chose to embrace his suffering. According to Frankl, while a man's destiny in life is certainly affected by the circumstances in which he finds himself, he is ultimately free to choose his own path in life, even in the worst situation possible. Man always has the freedom to choose his attitude towards life. Frankl claims that there are three ways to find meaning in life: through work, through love, and through suffering. Frankl kept his will to meaning, or his desire to live in a meaningful life, alive through his 3 years in the camps by focusing on the potential meaning he could create for himself. In addition to finding meaning in his suffering, Frankl motivated himself by thinking about the work he wanted to do after leaving camp. Namely, he wanted to rewrite his manuscript about logotherapy, a manuscript that the Nazis took from him when he arrived at Auschwitz. Frankl also found hope in love, and the image of his wife helped him through many of his most difficult times. Frankl was able to use his work, love, and suffering to keep himself alive because he felt that he was responsible for and to them. He argues that humans cannot understand the general meaning or super meaning of life. Instead, we must look for ways to make each individual moment valuable. Every person has a unique vocation that only he can accomplish, and which he is responsible for undertaking this job. The second section of the book, Logotherapy in a Nutshell, is devoted to explaining Frankl's ideas about logotherapy in more detail. He explains that man's will to meaning can become existentially frustrated, which can in turn provoke non-genic neurosis. In other words, If a man cannot find the meaning or purpose in his life, he can develop mental problems that need to be addressed. Frankl argues that everyone should strive to be in a state of no dynamic in which there is a tension between what one has already done and what one hopes to accomplish. To Frankl, this tension between past and present is vital to mental health. For those who need therapy, Frankl helps them overcome their anxieties and fears by using paradoxical intention in which the person tries to bring about the precise things he fears. Ultimately, logotherapy seeks to help its patient develop goals, whether they be getting rid of a phobia or surviving a horrible situation, and finding ways to meaningfully accomplish them. Frankl ends his book by saying that a man is that being who invented the gas chamber at Auschwitz. However, he is also that being who entered those gas chambers upright, with the Lord's Prayer or the Shema Yisrael on his lips. Frankl believed that while man is certainly capable of doing evil, no individual human must be evil. Every human has the capacity to change his behavior and attitude in every possible situation. In his postscript, Frankl reaffirms his belief and the basis for his tragic optimism, or believe in the importance of saying yes in spite of everything. So this is the nutshell meaning or the summary of this book, Man's Search for Meaning by Victor Frankl. So Victor Frankl grew up in Vienna at a time when great advances in the field of psychology were being made. There, his interest in subject developed early, and as a medical student, he organized suicide watch program that maintained 100% success rate. Upon completing his residency, Frankl set up a private practice in 1938 during the German occupation of Austria. Nazi leader forbid Frankl, a Jew, from seeing non-Jewish patients. 2 years later, Frankl became the head of the neurological department at the Jewish Rothschild Hospital in 1942. Frankl, his wife Tilly, and Frankl's parents were arrested and sent to Nazis at death camp. Frankl's wife and parents died at the camp, but Frankl survived 3 years in 4 camps, after which he wrote many books and served as a professor at new number of universities. So the title of this book, Man's Search for Meaning, an introduction to logotherapy, written in 1946, written in Vienna, Austria, 46, published in 1946. So post-war non-fiction genre of this book is psychology, memoir, setting Nazi concentration camp during World War II. Climax of this book does not have a traditional narrative arc or climax. Important moment included Frankl's vision of his wife and his decision to rewrite his manuscript. Antagonist of this book is Nazis. So this is an autobiographical type of a book by Frankl, The Man's Search for Meaning. No doubt a very famous book, very outstanding book. I hope you will enjoy this book when you go through the pages of it.